Welcome back to Co's Q. I know it seems like we're just throwing all these videos on here like that, but we're really not. It just happens to be a perfect timing for all the cooks. This weekend happens to be Talladega weekend. I wouldn't call myself a huge race fan, but I grew up liking NASCAR, and then grew up loving NASCAR later in life and actually riding in some iRacing circuits and so on and so forth online, and I just grew to love the sport even more, and it become a tradition. If there was a big race specifically at the super speedways like Talladega, Daytona, we would always do a little bit more of an intricate cook, you know, something that took some time, a little more tasty. And I did it on a gas grill, which is, I look back at it and I was just like, well, I did so much. Not that you can't do stuff on a gas grill, I just did a lot of stuff, I wouldn't say wrong, but just sort of incorrect in timing and, okay, I probably just done a lot of stuff wrong, but now that I was able to watch a lot of the YouTube videos and stuff with the people that we spoke of in prior videos and throughout this video, and it's great to get that kind of knowledge and that tutelage to be able to produce the food during special events such as this Sunday, which is Talladega, which is the big race down there in Alabama. So I'm looking forward to the cook. I've got a 8-pound Boston butt pork shoulder. Going to be trimming that up next, getting it seasoned up, rubbed on, and massaged on. And I'm sure I'll be long-winded in that because that part of it, I get a little bit carried away. I ain't even got started on it. I already know it because I pay attention to the meat, rubbing the stuff in, and look forward to it because trimming it up is part of it. You know, getting the stuff away from the meat that's not going to render properly, and I had to learn that. Looking forward to it. I'm going to put it on here in just a few hours as soon as the sun comes up. Going to head to work, come back. It'll be stabilized. You learn the smoker, the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco. It allows you the capability of doing that just like a pellet grill, and I'm sure I'll bring that up through the video. But come on, let's learn something together. Co's Q, thank you. So this is what we're about to trim up. I'm take it out of the packaging and just see how much of this needs to be trimmed. I mean, that look like a bunch from this standpoint, but you never know once you get it out of the packaging. We want the fat to render down, and most of it will, but there are some veins and some arteries that are intermingled that most people don't know about. And I noticed that in one of the last ones I did, I actually got sort of competition level and started digging in there and started finding those little veiny vessels that are mixed in with the meat, and I learned something, and it actually made the cook better. But I don't know how far into that I'll get tonight, but yeah, I'm definitely going to search a little bit. I'm not going to go to the extent that I did that last time because I was looking for mostly money muscle meat, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we're trimming it up and putting the seasonings and the rub on it. But yeah, this is from the pig. I know you know what the pig is. At least people in this area. But yeah, let's get started. I know I was talking about the vessels and the some of the arteries and so forth, but I don't know if I'm, you know, this isn't competition. This is just for eating, and if I'm not mistaken, that is your beautiful money muscle right there. You see the striations? And this is where we normally have to do most of our trimming. And even here, you know, other than maybe taking this corner off just a little bit, because you want to. It's one thing I've noticed with the behemoths of the you know, YouTube smoking community. They hit on that a lot, making everything real streamlined, real smooth, and the smoke doesn't have to work real hard to get to the meat. It almost massages it a little bit as it's cooking it. And I don't know if you noticed with the rib cook I did the other day, I'm not much on trimming a whole bunch of the fat off completely. I'm more into scoring, and that's actually what I'm doing lightly, because this is actually a really thin cut fat cap, and the money muscle is actually semi-separated. So this is trimmed really nicely, and it takes a lot of the work away from me. I mean, a lot of times if I get some from some other supermarkets and other places, it can be quite a bit more work, and I don't mind it. It's actually a little bit enjoyable, but it's nice to see it's nice to see a nicely trimmed. All right, now we're going to grab the yellow mustard. This is true yellow mustard right here, which is perfect for using, on Boston butt shoulders, whatever you want to call them. It does perfect for, the bonding agent that we need for stuff sticking to it the way it's supposed to. Normally put the barbecue rub on last or in between, but I'm going to do a little something different. I'm going to go and add this SPG. Brings up, do not forget the sides, please do not, because they need to be taken care of too. And there's little indentions and ridges in the butt, the shoulder, what have you. And you want to get in there real good, because there's the crevices that are going to sort of semi-separate through the cook, and those seasonings and stuff can penetrate in there and promote levels of flavor deeper into the butt. Now, this is a hefty piece of meat, just like the briskets. It can take the amount of seasoning it takes to make this thing work, so don't be scared to douse it on. All right, so this side I didn't put any mustard because some of the residual moistures worked its way down to the bottom, so there's really no reason at all to add it. So let's go with the barbecue rub. God, I wish you could be here to smell that. That smells great. Wow. I know if you watch some of the other videos, like when they do their meat, as far as like the rubs and stuff before it even goes on the grill, it almost looks like it's cooking. It's at a perfect like visual. And that in a little bit. I don't want to go too overwhelming with it, but it's a big cut of meat. It can handle it. The pepper's not going to penetrate the meat like salt would. It just kind of just stays very much toward the surface exclusively. This is a beautifully cut pork shoulder. It's only 8 pounds. It's not huge, but it's not too small either. And it's perfect because I'm going to put it on here in just a few hours, leave for work, and come back, because the Oklahoma Joe's allows you to be able to do that. Because so don't overlook an Oklahoma Joe's barrel cooker or any charcoal cooker that doesn't have any kind of mechanism other than your arms and your capability of putting the charcoal and the wood in and setting and regulating the vents. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Good morning. Here we go. Already got the wood chunk set up right there. That's going to go in there. A couple pieces of beautiful hickory with a few smaller pieces of maple kind of tucked away, already installed into the charcoal Kingsford briquettes. So we're going to light the tumbleweed. I'm going to let that go probably 15-20 minutes. Get the heat shield on, and then the grill grate just above it, clean it up. But right before that, we'll throw those in their strategic locations. That way it gets to a certain point at each part of the cook as the charcoal works its way toward it. Right, at this point, we're going to try to find a location that makes the most sense for the probe. Right, there's the money muscle. I don't want to stick it through that, so I'm probably going to just come from an angle. Let's see here, sort of from the top, but from the side. If you do it a certain way, that's fine. Alrighty, and I'll probably nestle it down a little bit further, but that's a good spot. The lid won't be pushing down on that. There is, you know, be enough clearance for that. So there'll be no influence from that whatsoever. But yeah, we'll be attaching that to our heat probe monitor. Just put some fresh batteries in it. Had it for about a year and some change. I'll show you that here in just a minute. All right, let's set the heat probe up. Already got the thing on. Yeah, some of y'all might be wondering, yes, that is the fat side up, and the heat source is below, obviously, but there's a heat shield there. Normally I do the fat side down. I'm just trying something a little bit different, just to see what it does. See if the fat does actually melt down a little bit. I've had a couple of people say, hey, try it this way and just see what it does. And yeah, I'm all for trying something. I mean, that's no big deal to me. I mean, I don't think it's not going to ruin the meat, because we're all cooking toward a temp, not necessarily to a time, even though time is involved. We're trying to get it somewhere between 198 and 203 target temp, let it rest for 1 to 2 hours, at least an hour for sure, and then pull it. And this went on about 8 o'clock this morning. Went to work, set it and forget it. Steady just above 200 for the onboard thermostat for the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco. Let's take a look at the, oh, look at that. That is beautiful. I have not sprayed it, and everything's tacked up really, really, really well. Beautiful. Gorgeous. And let's get a read on the temp. Yep, 158. So we're in 5-10 degrees of wrapping it and putting it back on. This thing smells amazing. Oh goodness, this is beautiful. Let's see here. Yeah, let's do it that way first. And I'm going to wrap this with the temp probe still hanging out. That way we don't have to maneuver that too much. And this is the side that was up. So I'm going to make it where this side's down. And any of y'all that know about the stall, I'll briefly explain those of you that's never heard that terminology before. I know the camera's not on me. I want y'all to focus on this. But somewhere around that 150 to 170 range, any specific cut of meat could go through a stalling period where it raises very little in temp, if at all, for an extended period of time. You speed that up by wrapping it either with butcher's paper or aluminum foil. You can do either, but I prefer aluminum foil with pork butts and butcher's paper with beef. But yeah, I'd recommend using 2. One's fine, if that's the case. Get that nice and secure before we put the other layer on there. And like we said on one of the other videos, or I might have said it earlier in this video, once you wrap it, it's not getting any more smoke. All the smoke has been taken care of earlier in the cook. It's got all it needs and all it should have taken care of the first couple hours. And it's been on for 4 hours solid. Use some good hickory chunk and maple strips. Good move, a good combination, very good combination. Go along with that maple blend. So about to throw this back on and you'll see it when it comes off. All right, here we are. We're at the point to where we can take it out of the cooler. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it's a good practice with any kind of big cut of meat. That way it stays perfectly tender for you. And it's sat in there to the point to where if I was to guess the temp, it's probably somewhere around 160 degrees. Notice I'm picking it up by hands, even as I'm touching the aluminum foil. But something like this is perfect, especially if it's a little bit insulated, to hold these bigger cuts of meat. But not huge cuts, but something like anywhere from a 7 to maybe a 15-pound brisket or pork shoulder. So get this out of the way. What a treat. Like, just looking at this, I just want to tear into it and start eating on it, which I might take a bite here and there, but ultimately I've got 2 aluminum containers here because I'm going to have one that isn't sauced and one that is. So here's a cool feature that we were discussing just a second ago. If you want to know if it's done, you grab the bone that's left in it, bone in. I recommend buying bone in shoulders or butts. And if it pulls out like that, nice and clean, that's your in-house thermometer for the actual pulled pork itself. And I got these bear claws here, and we're gonna start working on it. First though, I'm gonna take a look at the money muscle. I just wanna see how good it looks. This is a cut of meat that's actually what you submit to the judges. And these end pieces specifically, but that money muscle right there is a tube, really thick tube. Takes on really, really good color. I'm about to get a bite of that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break up that money muscle into both. That way both containers have the premier meat from both ends. And then the rest of the muscles will work from there and split them evenly. And then we'll sauce up one side, and the other side, it'll just be covered up. I'm not going for a fine grate up, where it's like this real chopped up barbecue. That's not really my deal. I like it a little bit longer, a little more, a little more substance to it, and then the chopped. And if you like the chopped, that's fine. And you can continue to work it and get it to that point. But it's up to you. That's just how I like it. So. Good barbecue right there. Here we are. We got both aluminum pans about evenly distributed as far as the amount of pork that's in them. But we're going to do similar things to both with one aspect, and that is, let's see here, the barbecue rub. I'm going to add a little layer of that to both. This side's going to be my saucy side, so I'm going to add a layer of that. Killer Hogs hot rub. Not a lot. It's not going to be overwhelming, but this is going to be the one that's not saucy, but it's going to have layers of flavor, and we've already discussed that. So add the sauce. And as amazing as it sounds, it's actually a better mixture after it has sat on the meat overnight. As amazing as that sounds, you think it'd be like fresh. No, it's better fresh, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not the case. Not at all. It's a better sandwich. It's a better saucy pork the next day. I don't know why. It just always seems to be the case. And yes, I've washed my hands several times in this video. Dozens, probably. And I didn't put a lot, just enough to move it around. Because I'm gonna have a squirt bottle that's gonna allow people to, and ourselves to, here in the house, to add more if we want more. And my wife loves it saucy. My kid does too. And most of my friends and family members do too as well. So, and coworkers. I often bring them something every Monday if I have an interesting cook that I'm doing over the weekend. So add just a little bit more. And this is the exact same mixture that was made just a week or so ago. Who knew that size cut of meat at that price point could feed so many people? I think I've already fed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 people so far, and it may even feed a few more today at work. I'm gonna take some there. I've still got about 10 buns, and I think I've still got enough to feed that, and we've got enough to freeze to maybe do some nachos or something else here soon down the road. Just get a little bit pulled pork out. Anytime you eat the same thing over and over again, or what have you. Well, what a sandwich it makes too. And these gems right here really, really set it off. Little sweet heat butter pickles, just like a hamburger chip, and it really, really goes well with the sandwich. But just look at it. I'd eat it right now if I was hungry, but I think I've had enough for at least a couple more hours. But yeah, I recommend it. And I'll put some stuff in the description box, maybe another YouTube video of someone else that maybe you can pull some pointers off of. But it's not hard to cook. It's a little bit time consuming, but it doesn't require your full attention at all times, and especially if you've got the right steps put in place. But yeah, I highly recommend it, as always. And Toast Q, Corey out.